The situation in Iran has just taken a very dark turn. There's a death toll. The Ayatollah Khomeini is calling President Trump out, and Reza Pahlavi, who is trying to be the new leader of Iran, and it seems like it's going to work, is calling on President Trump for help. And the situation is just very bad. The government of Iran has cut out internet, so the people of Iran can't even really access the internet unless they have workaround ways to do so. We're going to cover a whole lot more of that. I want to say hello to everybody who is here in the chat. Make sure to like the stream. No suit today. We're casual today. It's Friday. We're taking it easy. Let me see. Yeah, it's a chill day. We got Big Stack here. We got XJW Laura. We got Asa who says, "Sup, Basil Boy? What's up? Happy Friday, everybody." Ryan's here. Hello, hello. Quick sip of coffee. Now, one thing I want to call everybody's attention to is that there is a hello, Hamar. There's a link in the chat which I would love for all of you to click and go and fill out that form. It's just a feedback link. It should be pinned in the live chat. It's a feedback link, so you can go and leave your feedback. What kind of content do you want to see in 2026? As you probably have noticed, we're experimenting with different formats and content types here, doing current events, things like that from a Catholic perspective. So let me know what you guys want to see by going to that form and filling it out. You can also like this stream and subscribe to the channel. That's a great thing to do as well if you wanted to do that. And if you enjoy and appreciate the work that we do here at Sips with Sarah, then it would be greatly appreciated if you could support by going to any of the links in the description, like the Buy Me a Coffee or the Patreon, where you can support the channel financially. Greatly appreciated. And if you go to the Patreon, you can actually get exclusive access to some members only perks and such. So thank you everybody for the support. Thank you everybody for being here and hanging out. Always good to see you guys. XW Laura says, smash the like button. Very true. Very good advice. Angel says, I've been working all day. What's up with Iran? Excuse me. We're going to get into that right now. Okay. So we covered last week the story of what's going on in Iran, and unfortunately, it has taken a very unfortunate turn, a very dark turn. So last week I started covering, I'll give you a little bit of a summary. Iranians are basically protesting in the streets, calling for the end to the Islamic regime in Iran. And this is something that's kind of been building for a long time, but it's happened recently because of economic concerns. The currency of Iran has been inflating at unsustainable rates, and so the people in Iran are desperate to have something change. And for a long time, there's been an undercurrent of dissatisfaction with the Islamic regime in Iran. For starters, most people in Iran are not Muslims. I think only 40%. I went over this last time, but well, about 40% of Iranians are actually Muslims. The rest of them are mostly just non-religious, or there's a small percentage of Christians. It's hard to know when these stats are accurate or not, but this is from an anonymous survey, so it's probably more accurate than the government surveys, which have everybody at 99% Muslim, which is clearly not accurate. So there's been this mass protest, mass movement calling for the end of the Islamic regime. Reza Pahlavi, who is the crown prince of Iran, if they still had a monarchical system, he would be the one who is actually the leader of Iran, the monarch of Iran, I guess you could say. And so there's a movement calling for him to take over Iran's government. And he is also, very clearly positioning himself as the new leader of Iran. Now, that's all that's all great. We're all very excited for the people of Iran to get rid of this Islamic government. For one, Islamic law tends to be not good, tends to be horrible, actually. So that's great. But unfortunately, this has taken a dark turn because the Iranian government has started using lethal force against Iranian protesters. I saw a horrible video that I'm not going to show you. Don't worry, but I saw a horrible video of bodies, essentially, that were killed by the Iranian government. Now, all of this is happening online. All of this information is coming out very fast, so it's hard to know what is accurate and what is not. But we do have Reza Pahlavi, who I just mentioned earlier, saying, "Mr. President, this is an urgent and immediate call for your attention, support, and action. Last night, you saw the millions of brave Iranians in the streets facing down live bullets. Today, they are facing not just bullets, but a total communications blackout, no internet." And he goes on to say, "No landlines." Let me let this load. Let's see. No landlines. Ali Khamenei, fearing the end of his criminal regime at the hands of the people and with the help of your powerful promise to support the protesters, has threatened the people on the streets with a brutal crackdown. And he wants to use this blackout to murder these young heroes. I've called the people to the streets to fight for their freedom and to overwhelm the security forces with sheer numbers. Last night they did that. Your threat to this criminal regime has also kept the regime's thugs at bay. But time is of the essence. The people will be on the streets again in an hour. I'm asking you to help." So this was 2 hours ago. "You have proven, and I know you are a man of peace and a man of your word. Please be prepared to intervene and help the people of Iran." So there's Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince of Iran, asking um, President Donald Trump for help, saying that there has been lethal attacks by the government on protesters. Now, it seems. Let me see here. Trump has, suggested that he would help. He's at least called out the Ayatollah Khomeini, and I have a screenshot of that here. He posted on Truth Social. Pull that up. He posted on Truth Social, "If Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump." I always have to chuckle when he says, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." It's pretty hilarious. So people are saying, you made this promise. It has happened. There has been live ammunition used on these protesters by the Iranian government. And so, President Trump, it is time for you to please step in and intervene. Okay, I do have some videos also of some of the latest footage coming out of Iran. This is Tehran, the capital of Iran, and this is a massive number of people in the streets here. So this is, I don't know who this woman is, but she says, "This is Tehran. Let that sink in. You're watching a revolution unfold live while the world's media stays dead silent. Legacy media has become nothing more than a propaganda machine, because what news could possibly be bigger than this?" This is pretty huge news. And here's a mass of people in the capital of Iran. Similarly, Fox News has this video of just massive fires going on in Iran. People are obviously outraged that the government is now firing at them live rounds, and so they've taken to the streets and started actually setting fires. So the situation is getting kind of rough. I've also heard that there are pro-government factions that are coming in to try to rally in support of the government, and some are even trying to come in and fight these other crowds who are anti Islamic rule. But the craziest is this video. This is kind of insane. Give me 1 second here. So this is a video of I believe this was like a press conference by the Ayatollah of Iran, and I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be translated into English for us, so might have to just read the post and see what it says. But let's take a look. Yeah, so it's in Arabic, but the post here says Khomeini has issued orders for further killings and an intensified crackdown. Moments ago, he declared that we have spilled blood to establish this Islamic regime and we will not retreat an inch in the face of protesters. He went on to accuse the uprising of being orchestrated to please Pahlavi. So this was reposted by Tommy Robinson, who is a prominent UK activist, um, especially free speech activist. And he says, executive order for mass murder by Khomeini. Stop him, Trump. So it's not looking good. I do think that America probably may intervene based on Trump's statements. It seems like he's prepared to intervene if it comes to that. And sorry, that's Persian. I don't know what all the languages are in the region, man. Um, so it does seem that there might be U.S. involvement at some point if Trump sticks to his word. He might not want to do that if he wants to avoid having like other countries get involved. You know, Iran is allies with a few other big players who we would probably not want to get into a direct conflict with at this point. And so maybe to avoid sparking some big conflict like that, Trump might have some roundabout way of supporting the people of Iran. But we will have to just wait and see and pray for the people who are being attacked by their government in Iran. We also, let's see, we even have U.S. Senator John Fetterman, who is a Democrat, and he is saying that we should stand with the people of Iran, stand with all those brave Iranian protesters. Leadership is so desperate, they've pulled the internet. That is true. We must build on the success America and Israel created that break Iran's evil regime. And he posts a screenshot of this New York Post headline says Trump threatens all hell on Iranian regime as protesters take to the streets demanding democracy. Very interesting. Farsi, okay. Look, I don't know what the different languages are in this region, okay? I don't know. Yeah, so include Iran in your rosary prayers. I hope you're praying the rosary every single day. By the way, include Iran in your rosary intentions. Include the people of Iran in your rosary intentions, and we'll just have to see what what happens. Joseph asked a good question. Sarah, as a Catholic, do you think it's a bad time to join the U.S. military? I don't know if these potential conflicts could be considered by the church as just wars. Um, I mean, I think just as a person interested in your own life, it might not be a good time to join the U.S. military. It seems like a lot of conflicts are sparking, and we don't know what's going to happen. But I think you should probably talk to a priest about it. To be honest, I'm not the guy for that. To be honest, um, but it's something to consider. It's a scary time in the world. A lot of conflicts popping up. 2026, Iran and Venezuela will be free. Cruz says Adrian doesn't speak Farsi. Confirmed racist. Confirmed Islamophobe. So true. So true. Again, do check out the link that is pinned in the comments, is pinned in the live chat, because that is going to really help us understand what kind of content you guys want to see this year. I have some big plans, some interesting plans, hopefully some plans that you guys will enjoy. But aside from those, it'd be nice to know what you guys are hoping to see from the channel. Joseph says, thanks for the honesty. Scary time indeed. Yeah, definitely. I'm also planning on doing a video of a Q&A video. I'm going to probably post on Instagram. So if you guys aren't following on Instagram, go check out the Instagram. I'm probably going to post sometime this weekend a Q&A request for people who want to ask questions or even propose objections to um, the invocation of saints. It's a topic that's very interesting to me, and I think one of the biggest points of conflict between Protestants and Catholics, and so I would love to be able to provide some answers and arguments there. Interviews when? We have some interviews up. I do have some more interviews planned that I think you guys are going to be excited about. I don't want to leak it just yet, but I have one interview at least that's coming up that I think is going to be quite exciting. Big plan sounds like he's starting his own herb garden business. You might be onto something there. That sounds like I'm gonna grow like illegal drugs or something. No. No. Let's see here. Some other news here. Pope Leo, in a recent speech, had a lot of Catholics very happy to see his position on these things. He came out against surrogacy, which has consistently been the Catholic position, against surrogacy, and also in support of free speech and against laws that prohibit free speech in the name of quote unquote inclusivity. So let's see what he says about that. So here's a clip of him. This is posted by Pope Respector, which is a great account on X. Highly recommend everybody go and follow him. And he says, breaking in his most explicitly pro-life speech to date, Pope Leo demands an end to abortion and surrogacy globally. Very, very good stuff. Let's see what he says.
In light of this profound vision of life as a gift to be cherished, and of the family as its responsible guardian, we categorically reject any practice that denies or exploits the origin of life and its development. Among these is abortion, which cuts short a growing life and refuses to welcome the gift of life. In this regard, the Holy See expresses deep concern about projects aimed at financing cross-border mobility for the purpose of accessing the so-called right to safe abortion. It also considers it deplorable that public resources are allocated to suppress life rather than being invested to support mothers and families. The primary objective must remain the protection of every unborn child and the effective and concrete support of every woman so that she is able to welcome life. Likewise, there's the practice of surrogacy. By transforming gestation into a negotiable service, this violates the dignity both of the child, who is reduced to a product, and of the mother, exploiting her body and the generative process and distorting the original relational calling of the family.
Very, very true. Very well put, of course, as always, from Pope Leo. Um, and yeah, I think that obviously he's spot on. I posted a video earlier this week of the leading cause of death in 2025, which was abortion. And in fact, if you take every cause of death that's not abortion and combine it, it's still less than the deaths from abortion. 73 million deaths from abortion last year. I think other than abortion, non-abortion causes of death was like 71 million or 69 million. I can't remember, but go and check out that video if you want to find out more about that. And it is really tragic that the idea among many people is, well, if this mother's going to be in a hard position or if this baby's going to have a hard life, we might as well just kill it now and just avoid all of this hardship. When the real response should be, well, if this mother's going to have a hard time and this baby's going to have a hard life, let's try to help the mother and the baby not have a hard time and not have a hard life, not just kill them so that we avoid them having a sad life. That's ridiculous. And I talk about in that video how I was almost aborted for very similar reasons, and I'm very glad that my mom did not choose to do that. So go and check that out. And he goes on to talk about surrogacy. Also, very, very good points. I mean, people are often confused about why Catholics are against surrogacy and IVF. And the reason is not because people will say, well, if you're pro life, shouldn't you be for surrogacy and IVF because that's creating more lives? And the reality is, IVF itself destroys more babies than it actually births. The percentage of fetuses or embryos that are destroyed or indefinitely frozen versus the amount that are actually born as a child, um, it's a horrible ratio, and most like the vast majority are just destroyed or indefinitely frozen. So actually, it destroys more life than it creates, and it also, like Pope Leo says here, it removes the dignity or it negates the dignity of the child that you're trying to create because you're treating the child as a product to be purchased, to be manufactured, and in the case of surrogacy, you're literally renting out somebody's womb to grow a child that you've presumably purchased, especially in the case of um, homosexual couples who buy a child and have that child um, gestated in a woman's womb that they're renting out. That's a disgusting practice that, like Pope Leo rightly says, it is an offense against the dignity of the child, and it's an offense against the dignity of the woman whose womb you're treating as a rental space. It's just disrespectful all around. Um, so yeah, if you guys are here live, make sure to like the stream. There's only 36 likes, so 115 people watching. Thank you very much. But we're gonna look at some more clips of Pope Leo from this same speech. But check out this picture. This is such an awesome picture. If you guys if you needed a new wallpaper for your phone, this is it. This is it. This is so dope. I love it. Okay. We do have another video of Pope Leo from this speech. Let's take a look at what he says about Orwellian anti-free speech laws.
To be painful to see how, especially in the West, the space for genuine freedom of expression is rapidly shrinking. At the same time, a new Orwellian-style language is developing, which, in an attempt to be increasingly inclusive, ends up excluding those who do not conform to the ideologies that are fueling it.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. So I think he's probably has in mind, because he says in the West, he probably has in mind some laws in the UK where you can be arrested for social media posts. And actually, I think it's like I don't want to get the number wrong. So maybe I might, this might be a little bit off. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 12,000 people in a year are arrested in the UK for social media posts, which is more than China and other, what we would consider oppressive and dictatorial governments. The UK has the most arrests for social media posts out of any country, which is absolutely wild. And usually it has to do with them saying like, we don't want people to foment anti-immigration rhetoric. We don't want people to foment anti-Islamic rhetoric. So we're going to regulate these types of social media posts that seem to do so for the protection of these immigrant communities or something. But usually, what it does is make things worse because then people feel like they don't have an outlet to actually talk about these issues, and that does put people into the streets as the only option they have left, which is much worse than somebody just saying on social media, "Hey, I don't think we should have these immigration policies," or I think this guy who committed some sort of a horrible crime and is from a different country, I think he got some preferential treatment in the court system because he got a pretty light sentence. These are things that often do happen in the UK, and it is forbidden to post about it on social media. And I've even heard of people being banned from going to the UK from other countries because of things they have said on social media. So it's quite unfortunate. Tyler says, based Pope. Very true. Let's see. It truly is Orwellian, says Godbath. Yeah. Godbath says, wow, Pope Leo delivering. Pray for our Holy Father. Yes. Again, pray the rosary daily and include the Holy Father in your intentions, and also include his intentions in your intentions, obviously. A nice bit of Pope maxing for sure. What are you guys talking about with RZ? You guys are saying RZ is crashing out? RZ crashed out on Catholic converts in his Discord He said he takes conversion to papism personally and really doesn't like converts. Sorry, RZ, I'm a convert. That's so funny. I've had some interesting interactions with RZ on X as well. I don't know what happened to RZ. He used to be very chill and very like yeah, because I think he said at one point Catholicism is the main character of human history. The Catholic Church is the main character of human history. Like he used to be very charitable to Catholicism, and now he's very anti-Catholic. I think it has to do with the fact that a lot of people are coming from Protestantism to Catholicism, and he wants people to go from, non-denominationalism to mainline Protestantism. And so that pipeline of non-denominational to Catholic, he's trying to break that and show why Catholicism is actually really bad. I mean, he has videos where he's said like it's not an act of worship to pray to the saints, and then I've seen him post on Instagram. I've seen screenshots of his stories where he's like, prayer is inherently worship, and therefore praying to the saints is idolatry. So he's definitely made a bit of a change when it comes to how he approaches Catholicism, and it is unfortunate to see. But I do think it's a response to a lot of people converting to Catholicism. And he's trying to, it's one thing to make the case against non-denominationalism for something like Presbyterianism, but then you have to make the case of why should I become Presbyterian and not Catholic? And that's, I think, what he's trying to do now. But whatever. Tries to restore tradition, doesn't understand that this only leads to Catholicism. Yeah. Yeah, and then oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to like bash RZ. I think that I'm sure he's a great guy and very smart guy, obviously. So I'm not trying to just go on a rant against him, but it does seem like something has changed, and RZ's mad at us. I don't want RZ to be mad at us. Another thing we should talk about is that I talked about a couple of weeks ago how Jack Posobiec at the America Fest that was in Arizona, put on by, was it in Arizona? It's either Arizona or Nevada. I get those two states mixed up. But anyways, it was put on by Turning Point USA, and Jack Posobiec on stage held up the rosary and was obviously very, very much trying to promote the rosary to the audience there. And some people took issue with that because there are a lot of evangelicals, non-denominational types in the Turning Point USA movement and in the conservative movement in America more broadly. And so a lot of people took issue with this and were saying, there was this whole outcry against the rosary and against Catholicism by a lot of these folks. And one person who was probably the loudest and probably the least informed person on this is Mark Levin. He said he called people who pray the rosary freaks and like crazy people, lunatics. And this obviously led to a lot of pushback on him. But let's see, Megyn Kelly here has a response for Mark Levin. I actually haven't seen this video yet. I wanted to watch it with you guys, so let's see what she says.
He held that up because I genuinely think Mark Levin thinks Catholics who pray the rosary are freaks, that we are kooks.
Of course,
and that's one of the reasons why he thinks we're completely fair game to attack as woke Reich, which is what he's called me and you and others, anti-Semitic, because you're holding up a rosary. Well, that's sick. That's absolutely disgusting. And if you take the religious discussion there, you want to go back and argue about Jesus and Jews' role around the time of Christ? Okay, let's do that. How's that going to end? Just stop, all right? Because never in my life in arguing with someone like a Mark Levin would I bring up his faith beliefs and call him a kook for them. That's just so hateful and disrespectful. Never would I do such a thing. But there's a reason he chose that photo with the rosary and tried to diminish Jack Posobiec, and I would argue Catholics and Christians who also pray the rosary. He held.
Yeah. It's unfortunate when a prayer practice that is held and practiced by millions of Catholics or millions of people, it becomes like a political tool, and it becomes like a thing that people are debating over or something, when it's just supposed to be something that draws us closer to God. It doesn't need to be debated as like some kind of an extremist symbol or something like that. But oftentimes it is. I mean, we talked about in that video about Jack Posobiec, which you can go back and watch. We talked about how there are many times when the U.S. government has actually, used articles talking about the rosary as an extremist symbol to justify going and spying on Catholics. This happened under Joe Biden. They cited in a document a an article by, I think it was the New Yorker or something like that, or maybe it was whatever. It was one of those like liberal magazines or outlets, and they cited that article as an excuse to go and spy on Catholics because this article cited the rosary as an extremist symbol, as a symbol of extremism. That's unfortunate because the rosary is just a beautiful meditation on the Gospels. It's a wonderful meditation on the Gospels, and all it does is draw us closer to Jesus Christ. So, for example, yesterday was Thursday, and last night I prayed the Luminous Mysteries with my wife and our little baby who is still in the womb. And we meditated on the baptism of our Lord in the Jordan. We meditated on the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned the water into wine at the prompting of Mary, his mother. We meditated on the preaching of the kingdom, the proclamation of the kingdom of God, how the kingdom of God is, it's like a treasure that's buried in a field. It's like a mustard seed that grows into a large tree. And it's like and I especially meditate when it comes to the kingdom of God on how those who want to be the greatest in the kingdom of God have to be the servant of all, have to put themselves below other people. I think that's a beautiful teaching. We meditated on the transfiguration, where Jesus is glorified in front of some of his closest apostles, and he meets with Moses and I believe Elijah. We meditated on the institution of the Eucharist, the source and summit of the Catholic faith. So how are these things extremist? I don't understand how anybody could say that these things are extremist or kooky or freaky or weird or superstitious. We're literally just thinking about the story of Jesus Christ and seeing how we can apply the virtues that are exemplified in those stories in our own lives and how these things can deepen our faith. There's nothing even political about that at all. There's nothing political. There's nothing superstitious or weird about that. It's just like a normal prayer practice that Catholics have done for, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it's been like 800 years that the rosary has been around now. And even before that, people were praying on beads for long before that, going back to the very early church. So this is even the recitation of the Hail Mary on beads, 150 Hail Marys per day, was a practice that existed before the rosary as we know it today, and before the rosary as we know it was given to Saint Dominic. So it's kind of sad that this is a like some people think of this as a political statement. It's really not. It's just a prayer practice that has united Catholics for hundreds of years and that has deepened many millions and likely billions over the years, over the centuries. It's deepened their faith and their relationship with Jesus Christ. So I don't know. I don't have a conclusion to the story. It's just like, why is this a thing? In fact, the rosary has been so under attack that I posted on X, and I'll try to pull it up as I'm talking about this. But because of all of the hate that I've seen against the rosary, which it's like daily. If you go on X and you are and you see any like Protestants posting coal posters, they call them, they're always talking about the rosary or hating on our practices towards Mary and things like that. So I started saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do. For every anti-Mary or anti-rosary post that I see, or anti-Marian devotion post that I see on X, I'm going to buy 10 rosaries and I'm going to give those out to strangers or other Catholics, people who don't pray the rosary currently. And so I've actually done this. Let me find this post. But I actually the other day, actually yesterday, I bought 100 rosaries because I've seen so many posts against our practices towards Mary that it's amounted up to 100 rosaries. And I do plan on passing those out to strangers I meet on the street, to people I know who don't currently pray the rosary, but who I know would benefit from it, which is everybody. So here's one example of me making this promise. I say every anti-rosary / Marian devotion post is another rosary I buy and give to a stranger. Keep them coming. So I did actually end up upping this to 10 rosaries per anti-rosary post I see. And I have thus far kept my word on that, and I will keep my word on that. And I actually, I don't know if you can see behind me, but on my this is 100 rosaries just stacked or piled up on my shelf back there. So that there is 100 rosaries, and I also have booklets of how to pray the rosary that I'm going to hand out with them. So please pray for me. I do think that anytime somebody does try to go and promote the rosary, there is some sort of attack spiritually on them, and maybe even physically or otherwise. So do pray for me. I'm aware that like people who try to spread the rosary, it's not something that the devil makes easy for you. So do pray for me that this goes well and that I am protected and that my family's protected. So thank you. Hamar says, did you tell them you are praying the rosary for them against their will? Yes. In fact, in my rosary intentions, I often, if I don't forget, include those who don't like the rosary. So actually last night, as I don't know what the normal practice is on this, but usually what I'll do is each decade I'll have a different intention in mind. So one of the intentions last night for one of the decades was for everybody who is considering converting, everybody who's in the process of OCIA, everybody who is anti-Catholic, everybody who is anti-rosary, basically everybody in the entire world, everybody who's either not considering converting, everybody who is considering converting, everyone who's decided to convert, just prayers for everybody to come to the fullness of the faith. And that includes the people who are anti-Catholic, who hate the rosary and hate our practices around Mary. So, yes, do pray for them. Godbath says, our Blessed Mother herself referred to the rosary as a battering ram. Yes, I'm actually listening to, so I went and bought these rosaries at, I don't know, I don't know if I should name the place. It's a beautiful Catholic bookstore, who, like I want to name them to get them more business, but I also don't want them to have any attacks or anything like that. But anyways, I went there, and the cashier was telling me that she's listening to a book by, I always forget his last name, but Gabby After Hours. What's his last name? I always forget. Let me find it. And it's called The Power of the Rosary. And so I started listening to it. Gabriel Castillo. There we go. I started listening to it because she was talking so highly of it, and it is amazing. It's a really good book. So check it out. Let me make sure I get the title right. The Power of the Rosary by Gabriel Castillo. Yes. Go and listen to it. I'm almost halfway through it now because I had a very long commute yesterday. So check it out. This is so strange for me as a Brazilian. Here, even non-Catholics wear and pray them sometimes, although it is more of a superstitious thing. Yeah. I just bought that book this week. There you go. I got super blessed and received an early copy that had been touched to a first-class relic of St. Dominic, humble brag. That's awesome. That is really cool. His name is Gabby After Hours. Oh, okay. Thanks, Hamar. Appreciate it. Oh boy. Okay. I think I did have another story I wanted to cover, but I'm also happy to just hang out and chat with you guys as we often do. I do have to go at exactly 1 hour of streaming, so I got another 20 minutes, and then I got to go. Yeah, there are some things on X that I want to respond to, but I also don't want to bring attention to Cole posters. So maybe it's not worth it. Never mind. Cool. Have you ever read Introduction to a Devout Life? I have not. There are a lot of books I really want to read. If you get a copy of his book and it's autographed, it will be one of the copies touched to St. Dominic relic. Oh, nice. Dang it, now I want to buy a physical copy, but I already bought the audiobook. It changed your life? Introduction to a Devout Life. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Humble Nomad is almost done with The Power of the Rosary, and it's fantastic. Nice. I need to resume an intro to the devout life. No ADHD meds makes my memory and focus bad. Sorry, I'm scrolling through some stories I have bookmarked here so that I can. Oh, this was a story I wanted to cover. Can't believe I almost forgot this. Okay. Let me see here. I also don't know why it's showing a blank screen here until I like undo it and then do it again. Streaming software is such garbage sometimes, I swear. But this is a cheaper one, so we try to save money here. All right. So Catholic News Agency says priests in Arizona could face felony charges if they fail to report child abuse learned during confession. This is oftentimes this topic comes up of, well, what if a priest hears about a crime or hears about an intention to commit a crime or something like that, or hears about some kind of abuse that's ongoing and that will continue. Shouldn't the priest report that? And many times states have tried to enact laws to force priests to do that at the threat of some kind of jail time if they don't. And this is just the latest iteration of this. We saw this earlier last year with Washington State. Eventually that did get overturned, and I think the bishops there sued and had that overturned, which is great. But this is just the latest iteration of this. And again, it bears repeating that we actually present why this is a bad idea, because I understand I really do understand why this sounds like a good idea. And I do understand why it sounds like it sounds like an immoral thing to oppose this. It sounds like you're trying to just allow people to get away with this, and that is not the case at all. But here's why this is a bad idea. Okay. And I talked about this, I think, earlier this week, so sorry if this is too repetitive, but let's say this is a thing. Let's say the Catholic Church says, okay, you know what? If there is some kind of abuse, or if there's an intent to commit a crime, or there's an ongoing crime, we will report that to law enforcement. Let's say the Catholic Church said that today. The Pope came out and said that today. It will never happen, but let's say that it does. Okay, so now everybody who is doing these things doesn't go to confession anymore. And you have not only defeated the purpose of your law, which is to have priests turn these people in. Now that they can't turn them in because they're not coming to confession, because they know they're going to get turned in. But you've also taken away the spiritual benefits that one in these situations would gain from going to confession. When somebody goes to confession, they don't just go there and say, hey, yeah, I'm doing these horrible things and they're illegal. And then the priest goes, all right, buddy, you're forgiven. Take it easy. Go have a good one. That's not what happens. The priest gives advice. The priest talks to you and says, why are you doing this? Stop doing this. Here's why you should stop doing this. The priest gives practical advice of what to do to get away from these sins. The priest will obviously pray for this person, which does have effect, believe it or not. And the priest will ultimately, yes, deliver absolution. And exorcists have said that absolution carries the weight, has the power of over 1,000 exorcisms. So let's say there's some kind of demonic influence causing this person to do this. I know that sounds crazy to people who might not be religious, but listen to the Exorcist Files and then tell me I'm crazy, okay? There are witnesses to exorcisms. There's often several witnesses to each exorcism. These people have seen crazy things, and these stories are corroborated by multiple eyewitnesses. Exorcisms don't happen with just the priest and the possessed person. It's the priest, it's somebody holding the possessed person down so they don't harm the priest, and it's at least a few other people praying the rosary or praying something, usually the rosary, as the priest is carrying out this exorcism. So these exorcisms are witnessed by several people, at least like half a dozen people each time. And they all corroborate that these crazy things do happen that are only explicable by some kind of a preternatural force, demonic force. So all of that is to say, if somebody is being led by the demonic to do these horrible acts, and they go to confession, and that confession delivers the power of 1,000 exorcisms, as exorcists often say that the sacrament carries, then that's a great way to stop this person from doing this. And it's a way better way to have a priest there who, at least, even if you have a secular view that confession doesn't do anything, if you're an atheist, you don't believe confession does anything, it is at least better for somebody to have a place to go to talk about this, and for a priest to give advice and to admonish them and say, stop doing this, to reprimand them, than for them to not do that for fear that they're going to be turned in, and then just keep this to themselves, keep doing this in silence and in secret, and nobody ever has a chance to intervene in any way because of fear that they're going to go and commit and get turned in, essentially. So that is my argument for why this is just a really bad idea to require priests to report these things. It's not going to have the effect that is intended. And let's just read through a little bit of this article. So again, this is from Catholic News Agency. They say Arizona bill would hit priests with felony if they fail to break confessional seal to report abuse. Now, priests are they are required to keep the seal of confession. If they do break the seal of confession, they will be laicized and excommunicated. And that is something that no priest wants to have happen. And in fact, priests are perfectly willing to go to jail rather than have that happen. So if you are somebody who is in Arizona or any state where they have some kind of a law like this, which, by the way, this isn't law yet, this is a proposed law, but even if you're in a state where this is law, you should still feel safe in going to confession, even if you have to even if you have to confess some kind of a serious sin that might be an illegal crime. Priests will not break the seal of confession, even if there's a law about it. Whatever, they would much rather go to jail. They'd be happy to go to jail for the sake of their faith. So don't worry. Do not abstain from going to confession. Always go to confession, please. Even if you're scared of something, the priest is not going to break the seal of confession, and you are denying yourself the forgiveness that comes from confession. You're denying yourself a restored relationship with Jesus Christ for fear of something that is not going to happen. So go to confession, please. All right. So here's what they say, Catholic News Agency. A proposed law in Arizona could see priests facing felony charges if they fail to break the seal of confession after learning of child abuse during the sacrament. The measure, HB 2039, was introduced in December 2025 by State Representative Anastasia Travers. It is awaiting action in the State House after Travers pre-filed it on December 4th. The bill would amend the state code to require priests to report abuse learned during confession if they have, quote, reasonable suspicion to believe that the abuse is ongoing, will continue, or may be a threat to other minors. Failure to report a reportable offense could lead to a Class 6 felony charge under the bill. Those charges in Arizona could lead up to $150,000 in fines and up to 2 years of imprisonment. Now, again, let's say this does become law. Priests would so happily serve that 2 years in prison rather than break the seal of confession. Priests are some of the strongest men that you will ever meet, and they are not afraid of secular governments. So have no fear. This is, first of all, it's probably not going to become law. I think the church will successfully sue against this, likely. And if it does become law, they're not going to abide by it. So I'm not too worried about it. They say Travers did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the bill and why she proposed it. She previously filed a similar bill in 2023. Lawmakers in multiple U.S. states in recent years have moved to require priests to violate the seal of confession as part of a mandatory reporting laws. One such law in Washington state suffered a dramatic defeat in July 2025 after a federal court blocked the measure on First Amendment grounds. The rule had drawn rebuke from U.S. bishops, the White House, Orthodox church leaders, and other advocates. The state backed off the law. Great. Similar measures in Delaware, Vermont, Wisconsin, and Montana have been proposed over the past few years, though none have come to pass. One such law was proposed in Hungary in October 2025, that's kind of strange because I thought Hungary was super based. I don't know if that ended up passing. In 2019, California lawmakers proposed and then backed off a similar bill. Yes, this keeps happening where they're like, we're going to propose this bill, and then there's a large outcry about it, and then they back off. And maybe, hopefully, it's because they also realize that this is just a stupid idea that's not going to result in what they think it's going to result in, or what they hope is going to result in. Godbath says, this makes me seriously concerned. I live in Arizona, and I knew we were in a very dark place when they passed Proposition 139. I don't know what that is, but that is unfortunate. I run a mom's hangout group comprised of Catholics and non-Catholics. We're doing the Bible in a year by Ascension together. Nice. Please keep us in your intentions. We have over 1.1 thousand members. Awesome. That's so exciting. Keep it up. Priests fear no man, they fear God. Very true. As a hospital chaplain, I can securely say there is nothing that can override confessional seals. No judge, court, or jury can override confessional seals of ministers. Very true. The seal of confession is sacred tradition, and we cannot allow lawmakers to impose any restrictions on sacred tradition. Yeah. Very, very true. Zimac9313 says, hi, just encountering your podcast. That's awesome about giving out rosaries and instruction pamphlets. We make rosary in our rosary group at my TLM parish and give them out throughout the world. Nice. Yes. That's awesome. Keep up the good work. SWS, look at my comments up there. All right, Ryan, let me search. That includes Protestant ministers. I've known Protestant ministers who have been questioned by judges and have held their ground to say they are not at liberty to speak about confessions. Based, very based. Thank you, Protestant ministers. Very cool. That's awesome. What's going on in Venezuela? Italian leftists protest in favor of Maduro as 50 years ago they did the same in favor of Khomeini. Crazy people. Yeah. How could anyone enforce such a law if the priest doesn't break it anyway? Who would know? Exactly. That's another point. Like, this is unenforceable. So let's say, I guess the only way that this could be enforced is if a priest hears the confession, the person goes out and gets arrested for that crime that they confessed, and then that person snitches out the priest, I guess. That's the only way that that could really happen, which I don't see why that would happen. Like, why would you snitch out a priest who you confess to? Maybe the state would be like, hey, we'll give you a lesser sentence if you snitch out any clergy who you told this to before who didn't report it. Like, I don't know, maybe they would have some kind of a sentencing bargain like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, it does seem highly unenforceable. The state has been after this nonsense for years. Ridiculous. Yeah. Very ridiculous indeed. Interesting. Godbad says, I find it equally disturbing that Prop 139 promotes abortion and Psalm 139 declares, for thou didst form my inward parts, thou didst knit me together in my mother's womb. Interesting. I don't think that's a coincidence. Could also just enforce screens in confessions as well. Yeah, that's true. Like if you have I think this is what you're talking about, the screen where you can't see the priest and the priest can't see you. The priest would be like, "Well, I can't report it. I don't know who it is. I can't possibly know." So yeah, oftentimes confession is anonymous, by the way. I've only been to one parish where the confession was not anonymous. They only had like face-to-face confession, which I do think is good. It's good to go face-to-face because then you and the priest are like you're able to not only confess, but you're able to also have a conversation, which sometimes is needed. Because it's one thing to go and confess and receive absolution. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing every time that happens. But also, the priest might be like, "Hey, seems to be a recurring issue with you. You want to talk about it?" And then you can actually have some advice on how to overcome this thing. So that's a very helpful thing at times to have face to face. But like 99% of the of the parishes I've confessed at have had a screen, and most of the time those screens are, sometimes those screens aren't very, they're not like 100% blocking, where like you can still see the priest and he can still see you if he like really tries to see you. But oftentimes, you can't possibly know who's on the other side. So, Lebanese Catholic. By the way, Lebanon is absolutely amazing. I want to go. It says, "Hi, Sips. I'm glad I'm here. Thank you for helping me with my conversion to Catholicism." Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for saying that. Every time somebody says that this channel has helped them with their conversion, I want to cry. So, genuinely, thank you so much for saying that. That's beautiful. Yeah, welcome to the fullness of the faith, and I'm really glad you're here. On the $15 tier on Patreon, do you offer group meetings on Zoom? I haven't thus far, but I'm open to that. I'm open to ideas, which is why you should also check out the form that's linked in the pinned in the live chat, and it's also the first link in the description, by the way. If you want to give feedback on the channel, I have a form where you can go and answer some questions. It should take like less than 3 minutes. And then also at the end, there's just an open blank space where you can type in any further suggestions you might have. So go and check that out if you'd like to give some feedback to the show. Would really appreciate it. Even our parish priest acknowledged this connection, and the father of lies does love to mock our faith. Yeah, that's true. Mine has an optional curtain, but my priest knows my voice anyway. Yeah, it also depends if you're just going to the same, if you go to the same parish, which would be a good thing to do. The priest will probably like start to know who you are, even if you're behind a screen. I feel like I have better confessions when I go face to face. Same, actually, yeah. Yep. So let me see if anybody has actually filled out this form yet, because I think this is going to be very helpful in understanding what you guys want to see more of. And it's especially sorry, it's especially important if that it's you guys, because you guys are the people who are actually here with the live streams, and so I care much more about your opinions than I otherwise might. Let me see. Yes. Let me see if you guys, yes, we have 13 responses to the form. Thank you. All right. That's awesome, guys. Thank you. I'm actually looking through the results right now. It's very cool. I'm not going to give away any answers because I don't want to bias anybody, but do go and check out this form. Let's see. Oh, cool. Sorry, I'm like reading through it and not talking to you guys. A lot of you guys prefer the live streams. That's cool. Ooh, nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right, make sure to like this live stream, by the way. Let me see here. Guest speaker suggestions. Respondents suggested Christian B. Wagner. You guys think Christian Wagner wants to talk to me? That guy he's off doing important things. He has a family. He's super smart. Maybe he wants to talk to me. I don't know. He's really cool. I think I do have his contact. We did meet in Ohio a while back, which was awesome. He's a great guy. I would love to have him on. That'd be so cool. But I do have some. I have at least one very interesting guest who we're probably going to have on next week. So Patreon members will see it first. So if you want to go and get early access to these videos, I posted a video actually yesterday for Patreon subscribers, which I am perhaps going to post Monday for everybody else. So, but if you want to get early access to videos and interviews and all that good stuff, and you can even ask our guests questions, you can go and subscribe at the Patreon, where it also has Patreon has like a chat where you can directly chat with me. So very cool stuff. You can also join the Discord for free, where we have a wonderful community of over 500 other people, and they pray the rosary daily in there. It really is a great community. So go and check that out. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for responding. Eduardo, long time no see, man. That's crazy. Adrian, you have as many people watching as Catholic Answers does. Let's go. Take that, Catholic Answers. I'm just kidding. I love Catholic Answers. But that's awesome. Actually, I'm reading another Catholic Answers book right now. I finished reading by Dr. Carlo Broussard, The Saints Pray for You, and now I'm reading Purgatory is for Real by Dr. Carlo Broussard of Catholic Answers. So they are great. Why isn't Divine Mercy or the Jesus Prayer on the Rosary beads more common? The Rosary beads are versatile. They are versatile. You can pray these things on the Rosary beads, but I think the Rosary is just the best. So people prefer the Rosary because it's not to say these other prayers are bad. They're awesome, but they are. I do think that the Rosary was given to us obviously by Mary, which means that Mary was sent by God to give us this Rosary. So the Rosary was given to us directly by God. Not to say the other ones aren't given to us by God, but I do think that the Rosary has a special place and should have a special place in all of our lives. At the New Year in Switzerland, a fire started in a nightclub. 40 people perished. Their souls are in serious danger. Yeah. Yeah, keep them in your prayers. Oof, that's terrible. Pray for Edgar at Catholic Answers because he's sick. Edgar Lujano, love that guy. I will keep him in my prayers. How much for the hats? I don't remember. The link is in the description for the merch. It's shop.sipswithsarah.com. Let me see. We also have like coffee mugs, travel mugs, water bottle, shirts. The hat is $26. There are other design hats as well, so you can go and check those out. I've been thinking about putting up some new designs, but I don't know. I don't know how many people actually buy the merch or like care about it, so I don't know how much effort I should put into it. Especially when I feel like my effort is like very much going in all kinds of different directions, so it's hard to add another thing to that, but maybe we can get Mr. Lepanto to help out with that. He usually is really good at those designs and stuff. What do we do if the Pope officially teaches error about lettuce, guacamole, bacon, tomato, and queso? If the Pope dogmatically defines something false, something just objectively false about anything, and including the lettuce, guacamole, bacon people, then Catholicism is false. That's what that means. Now, unless it can be shown that that the Pope who does so is, did so under duress or something. There have been, I think there was a case far long ago in history where a pope signed some kind of a document that was heretical, but he did so under the threat of torture. So that would not be binding. But if a pope just dogmatically of his free will and is a valid pope, that would be that would just be that would just tell us that the promises we believe about the church are actually false. The promises that Jesus gave about the church in the scriptures were false promises that he didn't keep, which means that not only is Catholicism false, but I think Christianity would be shown to be false because the scriptures would be shown to be false. Do we become Mormon at that point? No, because they've taught heresy as well. So you don't go from one, you don't, if the Pope teaches heresy, you don't say, well, let me go to this heretical group over here. I started listening to Latin chants while I lift, and I think it instantly boosted my strength. Based. Could you please recap the Iran thing? Bad things happening. People have been shot at by the government. There you go. The government cut off the internet. There you go. Something dawned on me when recently, speaking of papal infallibility, is the difference between doctrinal declarations and simple pastoral. And go figure, every controversial topic has been pastoral. Yeah, so there is a certain level of authority that every papal now, when I say that, I'm not talking about papal like tweets, or if the Pope tweets something, which by the way, most of the time it's not the Pope actually tweeting, it's like his staff or like some media staff doing it. But a tweet by the Pope or just like a random off the cuff interview that the Pope gives, these are not authoritative declarations by the Pope. Papal bulls, while not necessarily infallible or unchangeable or whatever, they are authoritative in that we have to have a spirit of docility towards them. So we're not at liberty to go and see if there's a papal bull that the Pope writes. We're not at liberty to go and say the Pope was wrong in this papal bull, and I'm going to publicly declare and all this stuff, because now you're rebelling against the Pope, who is a legitimate authority of Christ's church. And so that would be, even if it is true that statement might not be on a matter of, it might not be something that is like incontrovertible or something that can't maybe later be, more deeply understood or whatever, but it is still authoritative. And so in the same way that your parents are not always infallible, but they are always authoritative over you, especially if you're a child. So your parents, when they say something, you might disagree with them internally. You might say, I don't know if that's true or something. You might have like a little bit of a wrestling with it, but you're not at liberty to say, you're wrong about that. You're stupid, mom, and whatever. You're not allowed to say that because your parents are your authority. So I think we have to have the same attitude towards the Pope, where we say, in a papal bull, which by the way, I don't think there's been a papal bull, at least with Francis and certainly with Leo. I don't know if he's released a papal bull. He released an exhortation. I might be missing, maybe he released something, I didn't see it, but we're not at liberty to say that those are, the Pope is just off base here in this papal bull. And even the recent papal bulls that I've seen from Francis and the exhortation from Leo, I haven't seen anything that was like bad or that I wouldn't already agree with. So I don't know. What else was I going to say on this? But only the ex cathedra statements are actually infallible, of which there are very few. There hasn't been one since, I want to say, was it 1950? So likely within our lifetime, we will never see an ex cathedra statement. Likely not for a very long time. Okay, I've stayed a little bit longer than I could afford to. I have some stuff I got to go do today, including recording another episode of the Mysteries of the Rosary series, which is a Patreon only series. So if you want to see that, you can go to patreon.com/sipswithsarah and subscribe at the Sarah's Cafe level or higher. So do go check that out. And it also is a great way to support the channel. And if you want to support the channel in other financial ways, you can do so by going to the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, buymeacoffee.com/sipswithsarah. We also have the form that's in the description that I would like everybody to please fill out. It really does help us understand what you guys are hoping to see more of on this channel. And, I have my own direction of things that I want to cover, and that's great. And I will cover what I want to cover, but also it'd be good to see what you guys want to see. So thank you guys for the feedback there. I see 19 people have responded already. So thank you guys very much. Speezel says, nice hat. Thank you. You can buy one for yourself at shop.sipswithsarah.com, linked in the description. Many beautiful ways to support the channel financially and otherwise. A free way to support the channel is just by liking this video and subscribing. That's a great way to support the channel. We just passed 45,000 subscribers. That's awesome. Thank you guys for all of those subscriptions. Thank you for the support. And Ryan says, great show today, SWS, and everyone, you guys rock. I love doing these. So thank you guys very much. Could you make a video on how to be a YouTuber? I did make a video. I think it's called How I Did It. So go and check that out. Yeah, make a Vatican III hat. Ooh, that's a good idea, actually. I might do that. I might do that. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks for hanging out. God bless. See you later.